so now we have learned how to add and subtract complex numbers. So let's get into learning how to multiply complex numbers. And once again, it seems, at first we might think it's hard because once again, complex number has two nature with that, right? It's a dual nature thing. However, it's once again, it's not that hard. First of all, before we get started, I need to mention one thing. Now, the definition of the of the imaginary number is I equals the square root of -1, right? Right. Everybody agree? So, the idea now is that, how about if I here equals square root of -1, can you find for me y squared? What is y squared equals to? So, y squared is technically y times y, right? I've taught this class in the past, and whenever I was starting to ask this questions before, a lot of my students they give me answers like all over. Don't give rush answer. Think carefully. Now once again, let's go back to the most basic here. I squared means I times I, right? Yes. So here's the thing. I times I is the same as square root 1 times square root 1, right? Square root of -1 times square root of -1, or in other words, it's -1 square root of -1 all squared. Square root of -1 all squared. I squared is the same as square root of -1 all squared. Okay, so square root of -1 all squared. It's actually what's going to happen with this thing. Now the square root here is going to cancel with that square sign, so it's actually -1. So this is something that you should now put into your little notes, right? Your little note page. I squared is always a -1. That is logically how it is, right? That is logically derived from the definition we had earlier. I equals square root of -1. So I squared must be -1. Okay? So now, as long as you start taking this idea into account, multiplications of complex numbers will become a lot easier. So let's look into some multiplication. Let's do some multiplication now. So how about I'm going to do 2 plus 3i, okay, and times 1 plus I, okay, just a simple one like that. So I want to multiply. Okay. Now the only way to get to this multiplication, the only way to get through this multiplication, to get that multiplication done, the only way, FOIL, yes, that's the only way. FOIL or distributive law. Distributive law. Okay? That's what it is. So, remember how to do FOIL? We spent almost half of the semester, right, learning how to do FOIL. So at this point, I really expect that you know how to FOIL properly with this, right? So FOIL first, right? Outside, inside, last, right? So what do we see here? So to multiply these two, right? First terms multiply together. 2 times 1 is a 2. Everybody agree? Okay. 2 times I is a plus 2i. Now signs count again, right? We've got positive 2 times positive I, so we've got plus 2i, right? Now plus 3i times 1 is a plus 3i again, right? But then last thing, plus 3i times I is a plus 3i squared. This is where I'm going to see that magic I squared right there. And so, what do I know? The I squared is, in fact, a -1, right? We have learned that just earlier, just before we get into some serious multiplication. And so, our problem here at this point turns into 2 plus 2i plus 3i. But then the last term here, I'm going to substitute the -1 for I squared. So all together here, that would become -3. You see how magic that is? Alright, so now, at this point here, combine like terms. That's the only thing left. So 2 minus 3 is a -1, right? 2i plus 3i is plus 5i. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we learn to multiply complex numbers.